want to see the first computer I ever used, this, with its clicky-clacky keyboard, is a BBC B Micro with 32K, that's kilobytes, of memory. They were prevalent in schools in the 1980s. I learnt BASIC on this, beginner's all-purpose symbolic instruction code. 10, print hello. 20, go to 10. Yeah, we did that. And recently, I got this one out of storage. Sad face, doesn't work. But recently, I downloaded an emulator in a Heathrow video I made a while back. But in the early days, it was all still very, basic. I joked about drawing maps instead of using After Effects, and I simulated using a BBC emulator. What if you used the draw and plot and VDU commands on a BBC B Micro to draw some lines on a map? And that just made me think, use the emulator completely. Could I draw a tube map, Zone 1 area only, on a BBC Micro B emulator? So the brilliant emulator that I've downloaded to do this is called BeebM. There is, of course, a link in the description. I then also downloaded a PDF manual to remind myself of the commands that let you draw graphics, such as mode, draw, move, and gcol, and this will let me draw the tube map. The first thing that I'm choosing to do is to work in graphics mode 2 because it says that it gives you 16 colours, but really it's 8 colours because the other 8 are flashing and that just looks terrible. So I'm limited to drawing 11 different colour tube lines by using only 8 colours. If I have the background black, I'll have to use white for the northern line, and if I use a white background, then I can't use white. So really, it's only 7 colours. Now they are red, green, yellow, blue, magenta, cyan and white. And here's how I'll be matching them up against the lines, and yes, that means there's obviously some duplicates. Also, the number of pixels in this mode is 12,000 across by 1,000 up with 00 in the bottom left-hand corner, so it's just a simple case of choosing the right colour and then drawing a line to the right coordinates, which means actually first I'm going to sketch it out on a piece of graph paper so that I know what I'm doing. So amusingly, as I start, I feel like it might be useful to put in some REM comments here, remarks, even though at the same time that also feels vaguely ridiculous. Now the traditional way to program BASIC is to use line numbers starting at 10 and going up in increments of 10. That allows you to insert things on the 5s later if you've missed anything out. So I set the graphics to mode 2, I choose colour 3, which is yellow, because I'm starting with the circle line. And then referring to my graph paper for the plot positions, I then simply use the move command to set the point that I first wanted to draw from, and then I use the draw command to draw a line to the position that I wanted it to go. And then that's what I do for all the graph points on my graph paper, intermittently typing the run command occasionally to see how it's come out, if it's okay, correct any mistakes, and then I save the file and carry on with the next part of the program. No, you got totally distracted halfway through playing Asteroids, not me. Now I've discussed this before, but if you're ever trying to draw a tube map yourself, the best way is always to start with the circle line and then put the horizontal of the central line in, and everything else will fall into place thereafter. So that's what I did here, central line second. I then went with the Victoria line to do one of the verticals. That's easy, just 6 lines in all. Slight mistake there at the top, which I'll correct in a moment. The Jubilee is 9 lines, that's quite easy. The District and the Northern, however, are quite tricky. They've got the most lines that I've got to plot and draw, so I'll save those until the end. And then you slowly build it up, adding in lines of code with the draw and move and gcol command, correcting any little mistakes as you go, to build up and draw the lines of your tube map. Until it's all done. Like that. Well, the Zone 1 area anyway. So I'll put a link in the description to where you can download the emulator for one of these from. I do miss the boop boop noise that you get when you turn these on. However, something amazing during the course of making this video, I was chatting to some of my friends about it, including my friend Martin, who's been in some of my videos before, and he went, "Oh, hang on, Jeff. I have some news for you."
I've got some news for you, Jeff. That is a real kosher BBC, yes.
Where did you get that from? How long have you had it?
I bought that off eBay about 10 years ago because I played with one as a kid and I just wanted to have a reminisce.
So, Martin, listen, favour.
Go on.
If I send over you my code, my basic code, either as an email or just copy and paste or something. Would you type it in for me and then get the tube map up and running on your actual BBC computer?
Yeah, send it over to me somehow. I'll type it and then we can see what it looks like on a real machine.
And so I emailed Martin the code. I cut and pasted it, and I gather he spent about an hour typing it all in for himself. Here's what happened. So there you go, that is the tube map drawn out first on graph paper and then plotted onto a BBC B microcomputer. It does make me think if we were to change the scale, bring it down, you could fit in more of the tube map. Obviously we could add in the DLR and the overground as well. If you want to do that, download the emulator, be my guest, tweet me if you do. It's also making me think, are there other emulators for other classic 8-bit and 16-bit computers like the ZX Spectrum? If you're a Spectrum fan, and you want to do that as well. But that is it. That is the tube map on a BBC B microcomputer.